Alrighty, just got done eating some good Chinese food from my favorite place, at least as far as here in town goes. And it was all around a very pleasant experience, which unfortunately does not happen enough anymore with fast food. It's usually the food itself. Now that I've gotten more into cooking gourmet foods and gourmet meals, I'm less interested in trying to. I'm less interested in trying to go out to eat for places, and I'm less impressed with the food that I get when I do go out to eat. And so for that, I think that I will typically appreciate eating out more, but for whatever reason, or no, I'm sorry, I will typically appreciate eating out less because I've gotten so good at cooking at home that I can almost always do it better at home. And then it's like, what's the point of paying for this meal if I can do it better at home? And so that mentality tends to get me in to feeling a lot of certain ways, and it's overall reduced the amount of enjoyment that I get out of going out to eat. And then, like, aside from food quality, you of course have like the service as well. And if your service is subpar or not par at all, then it's like, why? If your service is subpar or not par at all, then like, why am I even doing this? Like, I'm paying for a meal that I could easily make the same, if not better, at home, and I am not even getting like really good service for it. So I think that has helped me get where I need to be and realize some things. But I also really think that I still want to be able to go out to eat and enjoy food. Like, I want to be able to enjoy that experience. So for that experience to be gone or even limited is rather unfortunate. But I'm hoping that I can cherish these moments that I get with good places, and I can do my part to make it worth the while. And that is a lot of what I am doing and trying to do and looking forward to doing, is trying to just enjoy the meals that I get today. The service was excellent. The people were super, super nice. And the food was beyond my expectations. And I tipped rather well for that. And it was a meal well deserved. It was a tip well made. And I think that makes up for the instances where I flat out don't. It's probably been years since I've just not tipped any place or restaurant or whatever. But to the same end, like, I don't feel like service workers are entitled to a tip. Like, that is the present day expectation that American culture has built. And like, it's frowned upon to go out to eat and not to tip your server. But like, if my server does poorly, I'm not going to tip them. That's just the way that I believe that this should work. It should not be my responsibility to pay my server a reasonable wage. And if we're saying that these servers rely on tips to be able to function in their life, then that's a bigger problem. And I think a lot of people in this world recognize that as a problem, but instead of striving for a solution, they just perpetuate the problem by continuing to tip people out of obligation and not because they actually did good work. And tipping it's a whole thing. It's a yucky culture because a lot of people will tip for all the wrong reasons. You can get crappy service from a smoking hot waitress and still give her a booming tip just because she's easy on the eyes, but it's not really a good reason to give a tip. And so I feel like we live in kind of a yucky environment, and like as we slowly but surely skate away from cash in our society and move towards a society where there is no cash accepted, like the feeling of leaving a hefty tip holds less of a weight. There's a lot, it's just a number on a page at that point. Like if your meal was $25 and you even leave them a $10 tip or whatever, that's just a $35 on a checkbook. It's not actually taking money out of your wallet and leaving it for this individual. And I'm gonna miss that feeling. The idea, one of my favorite ideas that my financial freedom has recently granted me, is being able to pay for a meal and tell someone that you don't need any change back. And that feels incredible. It feels good for that person to know that they have a tip coming, and it feels good for me to know that I left them a reasonable amount of money and that I'm in such a place where I can share my wealth with people. And so it's, all in all, it is a very fortunate situation that I find myself in, and I have to come to the realization that one of these days these luxuries that I experience will no longer be the norm, and that we will eventually live in a world where those don't exist. And I can think back on these kind of days and these kind of moments when tipping and cash were still a thing, and I can appreciate it a lot more and be able to be like, okay, you know what? Like I made something with that. I did something with that. And so hopefully it all works out, and I can say that I got something value out of all of these experiences. I also feel like the world is tilting towards a state in which it is much too common to ask for a tip. Like I feel like everybody and their grandma that sells something is then in turn asking you for a tip. And like established restaurants, like fast food and all sorts of stuff, and I'm like, this is not appropriate. Like I feel like I'm not a big fan of Crumble Cookie, but I use them as an example probably because I'm not a fan of theirs. But I can remember going there one of the few times I've ever gone there, and they were like, oh, do you want to leave us a tip? And I was like, for what? Like, all you did was grab the cookies that I picked out. Like, that you didn't even really do, like, you baked the cookies maybe. Did you make these flavors? Probably not. So you didn't do anything tip worthy. Why am I going to tip you for the heck of it? And because we live in a world where people feel obligated to tip, we now, when someone asks for it, we feel obligated to give it. And so you don't sit back and think about why. It's like, why am I tipping right now? Why am I doing this? This doesn't make any sense. It's like, you're not going to go to Home Depot, buy a hammer, and then tip the store because the hammer you bought was just so fantabulous. Like, no, a hammer costs $9, and I'm going to pay $9 for a hammer. I'm not going to pay $12 for a hammer because I feel like tipping you. Like, it's weird. And like I said, I feel like a lot of businesses are taking advantage now of the idea that people feel obligated to tip. It's a psychological game, and then you feel bad if you don't. But if you're not giving me tip-worthy service or service at all, then I'm not going to tip you. There are times and places when it is appropriate, and there is times and places where it does not make any sense. And we're starting to creep more and more into the it does not make any sense territory. One thing that always gets me is like when I go to a restaurant that normally is like a sit-down restaurant and that you normally would tip at, but you order takeout instead of sitting down. Like, is it customary to tip on a takeout order? it's not like I still had to go there and pick it up. It's not like a delivery driver brought it to me, and it's not like someone had to go out of their way and spend time serving me either. So I don't feel as though a tip is warranted when I order pickup, but they still ask every time, and I usually don't. But it's a whole cultural thing, and it's a weird cultural thing, and I feel like we're teetering in not dangerous places, but less than awesome places when we are trying to figure out what exactly is tippable service and what exactly is not tippable service. And like another thing that like in general is like products versus services. We have gotten into this place in our world where we're moving towards a world where nothing is owned. And people keep saying that, they keep throwing that phrase around, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And I maybe looked at that phrase on too grand of a scale and not granular enough. And they're talking about like services and things of that nature. But like again, like there's a difference between paying for a product and paying for a service. In the event of like a Netflix streaming service, I'm fine with paying a monthly fee for that because I am paying for your monthly streaming service. But in terms of like a product, and a lot of these product ones don't exist right now, they've been conceptualized, but apparently the CEO of Logitech said that she wants to have a mouse service fee, and so everybody who owns the computer is just issued a mouse, and they pay a regular fee in order to utilize that mouse. And that is garbage because you're buying a mouse that is a product, not a service. A mouse does not provide you a service. And I guess the same could be said like with the Office suite, Microsoft Office, because at one point in time you could just buy Office, and now you have to pay a monthly subscription price for it. And I think personally that is garbage. Like, what is the point of a computer if I can't write on it? And I guess in some aspects I can. I just don't write in the way that I'm thinking about it. And but it's just everybody is trying to nickel and dime you. And that's the reason why I don't buy Adobe Premiere, because Adobe Premiere is subscription based. I do a lot of video editing, a ton of it, and it's like it doesn't make sense for me to pay $20 a month for Adobe Premiere when I'm just buying a service from you. I've bought a service, I'm now going to use this service until I can't use it anymore. And everybody's subscriptions are the way of the future. You want to get somebody hooked in, get them to subscribe to what it is you're selling, and you'll get them every time, because it works against human behavior in that you have to consciously remember to unsubscribe to these things in order to stop paying. And I currently, to this day, have a bunch of stuff that I'm subscribed to, and I have no idea what it is or how to unsubscribe to it. And I keep saying one of these years I'm going to purge my bank and just clean it out entirely, but I haven't. And because of that, I have these, and it's usually nickel and dime, silly expensive, like $6 here, $12 there, all these silly things. And what I want to do is I want to delete it, and then as I start to build back up again, I'll realize the things that I'm using that are all expired. But all the things that I don't use will expire out and go away. And I think that is absolutely a very important thing to be able to distinguish and do. And so hopefully I will be able to do that. Um, and that's kind of a thing, but subscriptions, all in all, not healthy. And like, at what point in time, a buddy of mine were talking about this, but at what point in time do we just disconnect ourselves from the world or the popular status of the world because it is not a thing that is worth living for us? Like, if I ever had to get to a point where I had to pay for Microsoft Word monthly, I probably just wouldn't. And I would find an alternative way to write my novels. Just the same with if this mouse tax or mouse thing that he was talking about ever became a thing. Like, obviously I wouldn't do that. There's a lot of forms of entertainment that we feel like right now we just can't do without, but eventually we do find a way to do without, and we do without it quite well. And so for me, it's like, at what point in time do I just say, you know what, I'm okay, I'm good, I don't need any more of this, or I don't need any more of that, I'm just gonna go about my business doing what I do, and hopefully we can reach a point where that is realistic in reality. I don't honestly know who or what is going on, but I just really want to know how I can exist in this future that we're building. And it's not that I will just suddenly cease to exist. It's just that my existence will be more difficult than the rest of the world's, though it also might consequently be more satisfying. And I'm okay with that. And that's a big portion of it, is just being okay with these things. And so hopefully everything goes the way that I need it to go, and I can kind of smooth things out. This person in front of me is braking on the highway. Don't do that. Why are you doing that? But yeah, I mean, living our lives to the fullest and doing the most that we can do in order to succeed in this life and break away from all its troubles and trials and tribulations. So many people go through so much stuff, and it feels almost unfair because I've planned my life out so well that I don't go through near as much stuff as all these other people do. But at the same time, like, that's the point. Like, I planned my life out in this way so that I would not suffer undue hardships. I just look at people around me and I'm instantly able to appreciate where I am because it's so much better than where they are. And that sounds cocky and me being like a jerk, but a buddy of mine pointed out, and he's like, no, he's like, you worked incredibly hard for where you are, or to get to where you are. And so anybody who wants to refute that just clearly doesn't know who you are. And that was a very appreciative thing of him to say, and I appreciate him saying that. And it makes me feel better. It's good to have friends who can level set your mind, because your mind does need a good level set every now and again. And mine most certainly does. And I'm not even dealing with half the crap that the rest of the world is. So hopefully I can get about, do some stuff that really feels good, successful, and worthwhile. And I can continue to be in this world for the better portion of the things that I want to enjoy. And I feel like we're doing pretty good. And hopefully we can continue. And things will just get better until I reach some level of success that I have craved. That's the weirdest thing, is the idea that I will ever reach some level of success that gets me satisfied. And I talk about it all the time, the trueness of the Rolling Stones song, I can't get no satisfaction. And I wonder if they weren't truly talking about satisfaction in the way that I am referring it to be, but the way in which I am referring it is the truest way that it means to me. I was beaten home. I suspected that I might be, but that's okay. Okay. Oh. Alright. Well, thank you all for stopping by. We'll do it again next time.